Morning. I think so far discussions and presentations, they have made some of aspects easier for me to explain you what I'm going to talk. And perhaps my presentation may be better understand in that context what so far we have challenges. We are facing kind of couple of issues in getting connected and for creating a collaborative way of things to happen. So I'm going to talk about a new concept that is being developed in context of today's what we are talking about, the smart cities or new emerging technologies. So as my presentation title that says Responsible Smart Cities. So what it is all about, my presentation outline is first I'm going to highlight a couple of issues, what we mean by the smart cities. Secondly, what are different issues, what the responsible means, the new approaches like responsible innovation and development, and the two case studies. Now, if we talk about the smart cities, every day it is a kind of the word which are, if you do a kind of Google search, you will find like it is the most tracked or searched word. But what it is, because there is a lot of confusion. Everybody wants to use this innovative word, but whether they understand it well, in what context they are using and why they are using. Many of them, still they need a bit more understanding about it. And perhaps we are making many times mistakes. For example, what is the green city? You heard around our stakeholders that what is a green city. They think green means you make it environmental friendly, we are not polluting. On the other side, there is a word that people use like digital city. That means people want to make city as a whole digital world, or a town or a urban that is linked with the digital process. Also, there is another concept people use that is the sustainable city. So whether these all three different words or these three concepts, whether they are somehow linked to the smart city or they are equal to each other. These are the big questions and they are yet to be resolved. And there is a lot of research and a lot of conceptual understanding, and people who are engaged into these activities, they are trying to resolve these aspects. So the concept of the smart city, what is the basis of this concept? This concept, one may look into it, whether that basis is socio-political, or whether that is economic basis, or whether that is the environmental basis, or that is the technological basis. Because the major components, they become some pillars of it. Other than that, whether these smart cities, they are also based whether on the culture, the institutions, and the legitimacy. So these new the basis points are emerging: the health, safety, the infrastructure. And then like the transportation, the networks, different kind of networks which we are talking, like my earlier colleagues, they have presented the different kind of the projects which are in the different kind of networks. Then the energy, what sort of energy we are talking. And then on the basis of that, what value system actually we are talking over here. Because there are different values. For example, democratic countries, they have the certain values. There are different societies, they have different cultural values. So what is the basis of this whole, the concept of the smart city? How we are handling these value systems? And then within the economy, there are different bases for that: the taxation, the incubation, the entrepreneurship, job and income. As we have heard so far from the keynote speaker and from our other colleague, everyone is somehow emphasizing on entrepreneurship, incubation, and somewhat from the honorable speaker in the morning, the mayor of the city, he also talked about somehow he is also related to the taxation. And this is the important aspect when we talk about these concepts. So now, on the basis of these aspects, what is changing now? What we see is the change in the network. Now we see the network of the things, network of the systems, network of the people, places, the regions. We are creating different kind of networks, and that is changing altogether. The way they were networked earlier, now they are changing. The distributed power production. Earlier, the power production used to be concentrated at one point, but that now getting distributed because of new options of energy production and supply. There is an increasing interdependence. We can see the interdependence. For example, there were examples from our colleague from the Europe to the America, and from different parts of the world, different parts of the countries. The interactions, how they are interacting, how the people are co-creating, what are the different ways, methods, means, how they are trying to create interaction. Just few minutes back, we were trying to create kind of interaction with member of parliament from the Brussels, but we could not establish. So this is changing. Decision making, who is making the decision, how we are making decisions, big data. As we are coming up nowadays with the different aspects, and we are creating huge data, and that is called as the data. And now what is the ownership about this big data? What is the access? Who can get access to that? Governance of the data. These are all aspects are changing. The concepts of boundary. We talk of boundary and control get diluted. What the boundaries earlier defined under the state law or the constitutions, they are getting changed. The participation, risk level, and the nature, that is changing every moment, every second. 19th century institutions, that means the rules, regulations, the policies. We are having in place 19th century institutions, and we are facing 21st century problems and issues. For example, Twitter, Face, Piazza. Like earlier, my colleague who had given Copter Coffee example. So now, that is the new problem or issue, but that is put up in context of earlier aspect. Is social media democratic now? In terms of democracies, we have to relook into it. Public space for future cities. How we are creating the public space. Not legal, but very good. Nowadays, we find every day a lot of examples. But on one hand, we say it is very good solution. But whether that is legal? The government in competition, they are competing with each other. They want to make smart cities. They want to make it a better place. But how? That is the big question. Now, in this context, if we put up the issues, then the citizenship. Now, the definition, the concept, and the states are facing how to redefine and how to, again, agree on the aspect of citizenship. Citizens, usually, they have the right to vote, but now that is changing. Because now the cities, for example, my colleague said, okay, we use the Twitter, now the Facebook co-creation platforms, and to take decisions on adoption of certain policies and new solutions. So they get voted. Now who are voting? Even the citizens who are from other countries, they are living, let's say in ZAGREB, they are waiting. They are voting on certain decisions. So that means under the constitution, they do not have the right to vote. But they have under the new kind of smart cities right to vote. So that means the citizen concept itself is getting redefined. The accountability, who is accountable today? How to define whether the government is accountable, whether the companies are accountable, the legitimacy of the decisions, how we take those aspects. Now the law and order. Now you see any issue that is picked up and that is getting different kind of challenges for the government. Peace and tolerance, new educational skills. What kind of skills we are looking for the kind of new changing smart cities? Whether the last or the past, these all kind of education systems and skills will be enough or whether we need more than that. The values of democracy and the cyber threats. The same way like entrepreneurship and the investment, the employment, jobs, funding, research and innovation. How to prioritize different kind of fundings for these smart cities. Societal needs and desirability. Whether whatever solutions or whatever the cities, whether we are creating, they are needs or those are the desires. How to define and how to differentiate. And finally, the sustainable development and change. Now, what is the responsible? Actually, I'm not going to discuss this whole approach because this is being well under the research and development. A gist of it I'm going to put up, and that is developed my colleague in the university and in the European Horizon 2020. There is a big emphasis on that. That is the responsible research, development, and innovation. So what is the responsible? That means we have to focus on the accountability, address the issue of accountability. So there should be a process, and that process should bring new innovations and technologies, and those should embed the values. And who define these values? That is a big question. So the changes and the innovations as part of cities should be economically viable, socially desirable, and environmentally sustainable. That means the society should be part of it. It's not like a technology driven, but it should be the socially desirable and acceptable. Now, in these new innovations address the question of legitimacy. Now, in this approach, actually, I will take a detail on the next slide, but before that, there are a couple of questions, which are very important questions, need to be addressed with the current approach of the smart cities. So, what is unknown, future risk and implications? Today, we are bringing up certain solutions. We are creating our cities, but we do not know what is the level of risk and what are the implications. But that doesn't stop us from experimenting and also creating. We should not do the planning in advance, as our keynote speaker, he emphasized. Now, so how to ensure accountability? Who is accountable? How to take care of accountability? What are key issues? What is desirable, acceptable, and agreeable? Many times, there are many aspects which are not agreeable, but they are desirable. How to identify values to achieve social, economic, and environmental sustainability? How to impart values through the process of responsible innovation? How to create responsible smart cities? So these are the big questions. I may not be able to address all of them, but I'm trying to put up on this slide what is the responsible innovation approach that is being developed. And based on that, I'm going to take up a couple of studies. Now, in this, actually, this approach is based on the innovation approach, that is a process-based approach. That means in this process, what we begin the process from ideation to the final implementation, and in this whole process goes through these aspects. So here, this is the anticipation. That means we try to do the forecasting, or we explore, or do the foresight about the future. Whatever the solution, its impacts and kind of impact it may carry out. Then the participation and deliberation. These are the part of democracies. That means whatever solutions we want to bring, we ensure the participation of the people, as well as the deliberation, because both things are different. If we go through the process of democracies, that means the question of legitimation can be addressed by ensuring the two different steps. Then the third one is, this is the responsiveness. In this responsiveness means our solutions. Whatever the smart cities we are trying to create or kind of innovations we bring, they should respond to the reality. That means it may be reality in current, maybe in the future. Then the reflexivity. That means whatever the solutions which we have brought, that should have reflected to the reality back. So this is, we have to see the mirror image of reality into the innovation, and then that way, actually, this is the whole kind of the process, different steps. Through that, what we do is we try to identify different values. For example, safety, transparency, convenience, ownership, autonomy, healthiness, trust, efficiency, happiness. So this could be a long list, but that list has to be prioritized according to the solution, according to the city, according to the situation. These values actually get embedded through this process, and the final outcome is the sustainability. That is the social sustainability, economic, and environmental. So that means there are many solutions which may not fit into the culture. For example, one of the case that could be like some people may be very happy, they want to adopt the modern cities, but they may be getting deprived through the they do not get involved into the cultural activities. So public space is getting a kind of problem for them. So now in this one, actually I'm going to share the case study. The solution was actually developed by my colleague, and I was a part of it in the TU Delft. And this is about the how to make the smart cities and as part of the smart cities, now for example, now I'm standing here and we are using a lot of light. The same way we use on the streets, every day, lots of street light, but do we need all of that or not? So this is about the new solution. Oh, can I get a speaker?
Mijn naam is Rajbeer. Ik werk bij de afdeling openbare werken van de gemeente Nuenen. Ik ben verantwoordelijk voor de wegen in Nuenen, voor de openbare verlichting zoals hier, voor civiele kunstwerk en nog wel andere disciplines. De gemeente Nuenen telt ongeveer 22.500 inwoners en heeft circa 5500 lichtpunten.
Ik vind het een prachtige omgeving, een rustige omgeving, rustiek en ja, heerlijk om te wonen. We hebben licht als er licht moet zijn en geen of minder licht als het er niet echt hoeft te zijn. En dat geeft toch veel meer rust in de straat en ja, het gevoel is daar ook veel beter bij. Het gevoel van veiligheid, want als altijd de lichten uit zijn of alleen maar aan, ja, je let nergens meer op. En nu weet je van hé, er zit actie in en er gebeurt iets in de straat.
Een modern stukje in een nostalgisch geheel. En daar hoort het intelligent systeem denk ik bij. Nostalgisch betekent in dit geval meer dat je een eenheid wil creëren en de lantaarnpalen passen daar gewoon naadloos in.
Als je hier loopt door de straat of je fietst door de straat, dan is het hartstikke leuk om te zien dat je tijdens je tocht door eenheid gewoon begeleid wordt. Dat geeft gewoon een veilig gevoel en een prettig gevoel.
Ja, als ik normaal mijn vriendin naar buiten stuurde met de hond, dan zei ze van ja, ik heb er eigenlijk niet zo'n zin in straks om dat buiten de hond uit te laten. En ja, nu gaat ze gewoon op eigen gelegenheid, zegt ze van oh, ik neem de hond wel even mee en ik ga lekker buiten wandelen. En ik denk dat dat het grootste compliment is dat je kunt krijgen, dat zij een veilig gevoel heeft, dat zij s'avonds, zelfs al is het laat, gewoon over straat kan.
Wat wil je hiermee bereiken? Een CO2-reductie, energiebesparing. En ik denk dat je met dit soort systemen optimaal gebruik maakt van de energiebesparing. En het licht op maat levert. Zien wij toch als een stuk toegevoegde waarde voor de openbare verlichting, waar wij als bedrijf ook zeg maar, in de toekomst zeker mee verder gaan.
Ik denk echt dat dit de oplossing voor de toekomst is. Energie besparen, op tijd de kapotte defecte lichtmasten ontdekken. Ik denk echt dat dit wel de toekomst is voor Nederland, voor Europa, voor de wereld. In ieder geval de toekomst voor de openbare verlichting. Dat denk ik echt.